You are going to want to stay tuned to the next Connecting Our Community to find out about the hottest spot in northern Montgomery County. You're going to love it. Hi, I'm Pat Shoemaker. Welcome to Connecting Our Community. Our guest this evening is Foster Holcomb, and Foster is the owner of Art of Fire. So welcome, Foster. And what is the Art of Fire?
The Art of Fire is one of the oldest contemporary art glass studios in Maryland. We've been located in Maryland since 1986. We had our first studio at Savage Mill, Route 1, Route 32, a renovated cotton mill complex. And we were operational there from 86 until 97. And we outgrew our location there, moved our studio in 98 from Savage Mill over to northern Montgomery County, built our equipment the winter of 98, 99, and opened up the spring of 2000 in a repurposed dairy barn, which is half, it's actually 3,600 square feet. It's a 100-foot long barn, 36-foot wide. Half of the barn is what we call the hot shop, where we make the glass and give the glass blowing instructions. And the other half of the barn structure is our gallery showroom area.
So, because I know nothing about this, but I think it's phenomenally interesting, how do you make glass?
Well, how do you make glass?
No, I asked you first.
How do you make glass? Well, actually, glass is a viscous material, and when we have groups of people come in, we're always turning the pipe. So I come over closer to them so that they can feel some of the radiative heat from the glass on the end of the blowing pipe, and ask them, do they know why the glass blowers turn the pipes? And they'll more often than not say, no, we don't. And so I'll stop turning the pipe, and gravity pulls this viscous material, the molten glass, south towards the floor. And so they can see very much why the glass blowers turn the pipes, because that centripetal force counteracts the effect of gravity. And one of the things that we try and do as glass makers, as necessary, is to keep the glass centered on the end of the blowing iron.
How did you get involved in this? Have you been with the studio from Savage Mill on for the past 20 or 30 years?
Well, my wife and I have been working together since 1984. We've built this small family glass blowing business and have grown, I won't say significantly, but my stepson Todd and another young man, Josh, work with us full time. There's a gentleman by the name of Bruce, who's now retired FAA, who comes over and helps to teach classes and comes over and utilizes our glass facilities there at the Art of Fire. It's not like there is a glass studios are not like 7-Elevens. They are not on every corner.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, as a young child, you don't say, "Gosh, one day I want to grow up and be a glass blower."
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get into something like that?
Me personally, I actually became involved in glass when I was living. I'm originally out of Western New York. I
Corning.
finished, well, Corning was part of my upbringing as a child, but I think as a child it doesn't necessarily make that much of an influence, or perhaps it did subconsciously. But I went out to Colorado in the early 70s, finished my schooling out there, and stayed ultimately working in industry for a number of years, which really didn't agree with me. And I became involved to a limited degree in working in a stained glass studio, which I ultimately wound up owning. I bought the business. Ultimately, I wound up in a place called Pilchuck. Was taking a class in painting and firing on flat glass because I wanted to take the business towards doing church restoration
And
work.
what's flat glass?
Stained glass.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
because I wanted to do church restoration work. But while I was there were people blowing glass, and that quite piqued my interest. So I stayed on for another couple of weeks to try my hand at the glass blowing, which was rather crude, but okay for early on, never having done it before, and asking everybody where they learned to blow glass. So the last person that I ran into had talked about traveling in Europe for 6 months. Just before he came back to the States, he stopped in the UK, and he mentioned a schooling that offered a trade school situation. He gave me a rather cryptic address. When I returned to Denver after my glass experience in the Northwest, I wrote a letter to this address, and lo and behold, 6 weeks later, here came a syllabus for a glassmaking program that was being offered in the UK. I actually closed my home in Denver, where I was living at the time. I was not married. I didn't own any property.
Perfect time to just
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
So
And-
are there, I don't mean to interrupt, but are there, I just can't imagine walking across the stage at graduation from Harvard or University of Denver or whatever with a glass blowing degree.
It wasn't
It
a glass
wasn't.
blowing, it was
Okay.
a business degree.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was going to say that would be just too hippie-ish, but but in the 70s, even now, is there that big a call for glass blowers? Is there that big a call for stained glass makers? I can't imagine that it's a sustainable.
Well, there's a segment of the art world, and the art world encompasses all mediums, and glass being one particular medium. And Dale Chihuly, the gentleman who everybody is familiar with that wears the patch, he has been very instrumental in bringing the contemporary art glass to be recognized as a fine art medium. That said, the past 30 years have just been a very ripe time for the recognition and development and expression of one's individual personality in the arts, whether it's glass or pottery or drawing, whatever your medium happens to be. Mine happened to be the glass or the hot glass.
Yeah.
And
So have you noticed a change in your own art expression, so to speak? In other words, in the 70s when you first learned, were you more of a this, and then as the years have gone by, now you're more of a that? Have you noticed a change the way some artists go through different?
evolutions,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. I personally built, well, I just love the medium of glass because it's so diverse. You can make a bowl or a vase. You can use many different colors, and there are many variations on shapes and forms. And but one of the more disciplined aspects of making glass is to make stemware, champagne flutes, goblets, long stem goblets, things of this nature, and that's one of the things that that is most challenging and enjoying, most enjoying for me to be able to make. And but I still enjoy making the bowls and the vases and working with the public or particular clients to do different types of things. And you want to open that up. We also not only make glass to sell to customers out of our showroom, we sell to galleries and craft shops from across the country. We participate locally at the Maryland Renaissance Festival, where this year will be our 35th season over there at the...
And what do you do at the Renaissance Festival?
We're actually doing educational narrative demonstrations on the hour and the half hour throughout the course of the day. But where I was also going was when we were located at Savage Mill was an art and antique center, and we ultimately had antique dealers dealing in silver who would come and say, can you make a glass liner for this silver vase, or can you make a mustard or a salt dish for this epergne? So that really opened up a whole new awareness of how glass could be applied and manipulated for the replacement and restoration industry as well.
So we'll get more into the progression of it. We have come to our first break, so please stay tuned to the second half of the show about glass blowing, which sort of blows your mind in addition to the glass. Anyway, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm Alejandro Escobedo. Music has always been my life, but that was almost taken away from me by hepatitis C. Thankfully, I received treatment and stopped cancer before it started. Yes, cancer. Most people don't know there's a link between certain viruses and cancer. I didn't know, but I do now, and so should you. That's why I've partnered with the Prevent Cancer Foundation. The 3 most common viruses linked to cancer are human papillomavirus, or HPV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. Every year, more than 27,000 men and women are diagnosed with a cancer caused by HPV, and up to 65% of all liver cancers are caused by Hep B or C. These cancers are preventable. Getting screened, vaccinated, and treated isn't scary, but cancer is. For more information, visit thinkaboutthelink.org. Together, we can stop cancer before it starts.
Hi, welcome back to Connecting Our Community. Our guest this evening is Foster Holcomb of The Art of Fire, and we were discussing sort of your progression. Before I get into the more up-to-date of what you're doing with the studio and lessons and all of that, is there a Foster Holcomb style? In other words, if somebody looked at a piece of glass artwork, so to speak, would they be able to say, oh, Foster did that?
That's a Foster piece.
Yeah.
I think to a certain degree, yes, that's probably true. That's a very interesting question. Nobody ever has really put it to me like that. But yeah, there is a style that says Foster, and the people who collect our work over the years can definitely pull me out of the proverbial group and say, yeah, that's a piece of Foster's. Yeah.
So if someone wanted to, because I know that this is an art that should not die, so you offer lessons to people.
Right. We really love glass and the way that it just what it is as a medium and how expressive it can be. That said, when we opened up the studio, it's in its current location in the repurposed dairy barn. We started giving classes, and we developed a set of classes that over 4 3-hour sessions week to week, traditionally on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning for 3 hours in length with just 2 people per instructor.
Wow.
The instructor does a demonstration, talks about what he's doing, why he is doing it, and then turns it over to the students. Well then, but we don't just turn it over
Yeah.
to the student
Yeah.
and say,
Here.
"Yeah, here, have at it." Yeah, we're standing alongside of you, talking you through each and every step. And we like chalk a lot, and like a chalkboard in a classroom, we don't have a chalkboard, but we've got a cement floor, so that we use the floor prolifically if we need to get a particular point across.
I don't mean to stop you
No,
there.
no, that's
but
fine.
I'm just thinking of a cement floor with people making glass.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it make sense more to have a softer floor so that if stuff drops, it won't shatter?
No, not at all.
Oh,
Not at all.
okay.
Because in most
just
instances,
seems like an accident
yeah,
waiting to kill
well,
people.
if pieces do drop onto the floor, they become floor models.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but that said, while they're being worked, really they're rather viscous, and they are more likely to go thud than
Oh.
break apart.
Oh,
And that comes a little later in the process. But that said, we have the main glass furnace that runs 24/7, 365. That maintains a reservoir of clear molten glass in the floor of the furnace. We have the glass making bench with the long arms where the glass blower rolls the pipes back and forth, because making glasses, the process is actually, if you will, almost a movable lathe. After the glass comes out of the furnace, it begins to cool off. And as it cools off, it can no longer be manipulated. So you go to a reheating furnace that has a temperature of 2,300 degrees.
Ooh.
That's called the glory hole.
Yeah.
And that furnace is used strictly for reheating purposes. And then the finished piece of glass goes into an oven that has a temperature of between 900 and 1,000 degrees. And that holds the piece of glass that's been made by either us or the students during the course of the day. The pieces of glass are put in those ovens, and then they cool slowly overnight. And technically, it relieves the compressive and tensile strengths that are introduced to the glass while it's been made, and then it cools slowly, as I said. And the science of the glass is really quite interesting. So from the standpoint of, I particularly like the science of glass. So you have your STEM programs these days that the kids are learning about. So let's add in the A and call it STEAM, because the A is for the arts. So we like to bring the arts, the sciences, the math, and everything
Technology,
together.
yeah.
And glass is one of the oldest materials known to man. It's 4,000 years old. The Egyptians could melt colored glass, but they couldn't blow the glass because the guys that worked with the steel hadn't figured out how to make a hollow steel tube. That didn't occur until about the time of Christ. So fast forward to today, with the resurgence of the arts, or recognition of the arts, beginning in the late 60s, early 70s, I just was positioned appropriately to get together with a wonderful woman and grow our lives together, making glass, doing educational narrative demonstrations. So, but the glass today for the professional is a great way to take their mind off of their stress-filled days at work or in their lives, because when you're learning about glass in the early and middle stages, you're focusing 110% on the glass, and you're not thinking about anything else but making the glass. So it's a great stress relief.
So do you find that most of your students are older, middle-aged and older, or young people? Is there an age limit?
We really ask that there's a minimum of 16, but if we're approached by parents of 13 or 14-year-olds, we have made exceptions, but we request that we meet the individual so that we can make an assessment of the individual, because there's a tendency for younger people to tend to want to wander mentally, and around the glass you cannot. You have to spend that 110%. You know, we're 34 years in operation now. That said, the students today find it difficult. The millennials, I don't want to really put them in a box, but they're calling them the millennials. A particular group of people find it difficult to commit to the proverbial month of Saturdays or month of Sundays to do the 3-hour classes. So we've reacted now to doing glass-making experiences, and we're referring to that as hot stuff, cool time. And you can come out, you can blow an ornament, you can make a heart, you can do a hand print, you can blow a ball, you can blow a vase. Come out and do 3 hours of one-on-one with us, and we'll put you in the bench, give you the hand tools. You will come away with a good working understanding of what the glass is all about, and that can then perhaps pique your interest enough that you want to commit those 12 hours to learning the glass, the fundamentals or the beginning of the glass blowing.
That's
and then
great.
we have, if you go through the beginning class, you like the beginning class and want to learn more, we actually have a couple right now who are scientists based in Baltimore who are doing their intermediate class. They came last year for a beginning class.
So if somebody wanted to just come and take a tour or whatever, you're open for that as well.
We look forward to hosting folks to come out and visit with us, shop in our gallery, and then come and visit us on our open houses, which is part of the countrysideartisans.com. Spell that all out online. That will outline the dates and times and the members of the artists who are located in Montgomery County on their three times annual countryside tour.
Okay. Well, it's been a great, interesting show. I know I've learned a lot. I loved beautiful glass before, but now it just is more fascinating. For more information, you can visit artoffire.com or email them at artoffire@artoffire.com. Or you can call 301-253-6642. Thank you so much for joining us. Foster, thank you so much. It was fascinating. And please be sure to come back the next time for another Connecting Our Community.